Richard O'Hara here for a review of the Grindhouse releasing of Cat in the Brain. I spent quite a bit of time over Thanksgiving digging into this release, and it's an excellent, as typical of everything Grindhouse releasing produces. It's an excellent release. I highly recommend getting it. If you're a fan of Italian genre horror films, or specifically Lucio Fulci, you gotta have this. It's a must-own. If you're not big on either of those two things, I'd still buy it because I think it's a great release. It's just jam-packed with a lot of interesting commentary and interviews, well beyond, whether you like the movie or not. It's, to me, a separate issue. The movie itself is a 1990 film towards the end of his, Lucio Fulci's, directorial career. He died like in '96. And it's a film I think that divides audiences, if even Fulci fanatics. It's a love-hate. Either love it or hate it. There's really no in between, and probably some of that is a result of the fact that the film uses 30 minutes of a third of the film is just excerpts from previous movies, including movies that he didn't direct. He took scenes from an assortment, a wide variety of movies that he either directed or had some responsibility for, and including bringing over Brett Halsey images. So there's a lot of ways to read this film. Before I get to that, I guess the short synopsis of the film is that Fulci plays himself. He's a director of horror films. He is having nightmares and visions from all the past scenes of violence and murder that he's filmed. He's not sure whether he's actually committing these murders or just having these images causing him to just go nuts. He's going slowly insane. So he goes to a psychiatrist to try to figure out what's wrong. And spoiler alert here, this turns out it's kind of a giallo film, but the short version of the psychiatrist ends up being the killer, and he's recreating all the killings from Fulci's movies as a diversionary tactic away from him towards the director. I think the film has a lot of to me, the bottom line, I think Fulci's kind of having some fun with a lot of different aspects of life and his career that are sore spots in some ways. For example, I think he was routinely criticized for the level of gore and violence. So in this film, I think he kind of thumbs his nose at people that criticize him for that by just dumping oodles of loads of gore and violence into this film. He has a low opinion of psychiatry, and so of course he's going to make the psychiatrist, the killer in this film. So I think if you watch this film carefully, and you can probably pick up a lot of opinions and excerpts from Fulci's life and career that are reflective of this film. I think he's kind of having a laugh at himself, at psychiatrists, at the horror genre itself, of people that are taking it too seriously and being too critical of it. I think it also reflects some of his fears. In one of the scenes, he was late to the set, and the assistant director just took over. I said, maybe it's probably a lot of directors' actual real fears, is that they can be easily replaced. Another aspect of the film is you could criticize him for taking 30 minutes of old film footage and just putting it in his film. But I think the message is we, as a directorial art form, we tend to replicate ourselves and just do the same thing over and over. So the danger of replicating the same thing over and over and over as a director is probably a valid fear that he had when he made this film. I like the film a whole lot. But again, I think maybe I'm reading too many these hidden subtle messages into the film. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but because of that, I really did like it and enjoy it. Whether I'm right or wrong about it, of course, he's dead. He can't really talk about it, but he did say in some of the interviews, he's well known. He can't stand the psychiatry profession. He thinks it's a load of crap. As far as the release itself, it's your typical Grindhouse, excellent stuff. You've got, can't seem to get out of there. And you got the cover that's got a glow in it. It's a glow in the dark cover. I can't really do I'm not sure that I can. We can try it with the lights out. Let me see. Yeah, you can kind of see it. This glows in the dark. So. Yeah, glow in the dark cover. First disc is the soundtrack. Fabio Frizzi did music was fantastic in this film. So you got a separate soundtrack. You've got a booklet that has the first section is a write-up by his daughter. And his daughter is, she's got mixed opinions about her dad, that's for sure. You've got a variety. Eli Roth does a little segment of his thoughts in the film. It's a good little booklet. Then you've got a lobby card, portrait lobby card, and then the film and disc itself, internal artwork here. So disc 1 is the film itself, and you can watch it, the Italian version or English. And then there's 2 trailers on disc 1. Disc 2 is all the special features, and man, there's a lot. I mean, there's no commentary track on this, but I guess there didn't really need to be because it took me a day just to watch all of it. There's starting out with in-depth interviews with the director, Brett Halsey. Both those are like 40 minutes long. You've got interviews with the composer, Fabio Frizzi. And each of those are like 30 minutes, 40 minutes long. The screenwriter is interviewed and talks about the film. The guy that does the poster art had I think he had like 20, 30 minutes. The screenwriter is in here. And Antonio Tittori interviews Lucio Fulci in a radio interview, 15 minutes. Then you've got, if that's not enough, you've got 2 40-minute sequences. A sit-down interview with Fulci covering his television years, Italian TV, and then another 40 minutes that goes actually into his horror genre years, which both are very interesting, and it's worth the price of admission if you're interested in Italian cinema, Fulci specifically. You're going to want to get this just for those interviews. There's a still gallery and there's a bio section that's got some Easter eggs. Brett Halsey section and Fulci section has some Easter egg trailers of some of their lesser known films. Then you've got a 23-minute film from interview with Fulci when he was at the Fangoria. I think it was the Fangoria weekend of Fangoria in '96. That just goes on and on and on. It's a tremendous release. I'm really concerned about that. I Drink Your Blood may be the last or next to last Grindhouse release. I sure as hell hope not, because it's definitely my favorite distribution company. I love all their stuff that they put out. But I can highly recommend investing the money in this release if you don't have it. And I appreciate you watching. Thanks.